following announcement has been paid for by the Celtic World Order.
Hello there, how we doing? Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. I am Charles Green. Sorry, I'm Steve O'Matt. I'm still in the Charles Green position, but I am indeed. Don't change your channel. It is Steve O'Matt here. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. Thank you once again for joining us for another wee chat about some Celtic. It's the reaction to that big match last night. Lots of swirling opinions going around on that one. Interested to hear nice and early what your thoughts are. Get them in. Let us know what you thought of that performance. As it says in the tagline, as far as we're concerned, we are down, but we are certainly not out. Deadly Dies in my aid. I finally got there, gave us a lifeline, and I am joined with my bearded brother, the OG, my main man. It's Paddy boy. Paddy, lovely to have you here, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I'm not gutted with the result. I'm relatively happy about it. If you'd have said to me at the start of the game, a 2-1 would be what would happen, then I probably took it, to be honest. I thought we could have got more. And it seems to be the case coming out of these European games. I felt that the last time with the Atletico game, when we come out of that with a draw and we kind of left the stadium gutted. And it seems to be that we go into these games and we play well. We've got a lot of positives. And we're just not quite taking advantage of a lot of the chances. So it's a positive result as much as we can go.
Exactly. There's plenty to talk about. Listen, I think depending on where you were on the sort of spectrum of enthusiasm, hopes, aspirations, you know, it was everywhere from please don't get a hiding to optimism that we were going to cause the big upset. And certainly we'll get on to it. It looked as if that was going to happen nice and early, and we'll cover all of that. But as I say, thank you for tuning in. Get your opinions in. If there's anything you want to talk about, we'll try to make this as short and sweet as we possibly can tonight. We are on a wee bit of a watch show to speak on this one in terms of lights out for the establishment that I am at here, so we'll get through as much as we possibly can. But let us know what your thoughts on it. As we say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you do us one big favour. It costs you nothing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you hit the bell icon. You get notified every time we go live, every time we do an upload. It costs you nothing. Helps grow the channel because more people are still watching than they are subscribed, and it takes you 2 seconds to do it. If you are a returning subscriber like the Bold 420, thank you. We love it. Continued support, and like Bold 420, if you want to help the growth of the channel, support it. You can donate. Member section 199 helps put all this party together, and we are eternally grateful for every single person there. Companies in the house, Steve-O, yes, that's it. I think until I am back home, I will be known as Charles Green for the foreseeable, but we'll get on to that. You want to connect with us elsewhere, X at CWPod1888, TikTok, Blue Sky, catch up on Spotify. It's all there. So, Paddy, let's get down to business. Let's get right in about it. We went into this, it was myself and Paul talking about it. A wee bit optimistic. I said one each. Not too far off it. I don't even think even yourself would have went for a 4-0 if I've been totally honest. But
100% that.
We go into that game, we sampled the threats. We knew there were many. Bayern Munich was never going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Perhaps being at home was maybe a hindrance, if you will. We always like the idea that second leg, if it was say 2-1 after the first leg away, that you feel like you can really chase it. Your backs are going to be up against the wall in Munich, make no doubt about it. But strong lineup to begin with, absolutely buzzing. Hit me from that start off, mate. There's opening 35 seconds for our own box, into Arne Engels, into Kuhn, and we think we've burst the net, mate.
Yeah, listen, I nearly put Wally through the roof of the man cave. Wally Battles, he was down here watching the game with me, and me and him were jumping about in here like screaming like a bunch of kids. Honestly, it was the dream start, wasn't it? As he hits it, and then I see the linesman's flag going up, and I'm going, he's hit it for 25 yards. How's he offside? And then obviously it showed you, and Ida, yeah, he's there. Is he interfering with play? I know he's in front of the keeper. Doesn't make a movement towards the ball. Is it offside?
Paddy, I mean, here, this is one to talk about. It says there's a few more of these coming in. Let us know, get your thoughts in. What was your thoughts on performances, the individual players, the big matters that are coming up? We'll go on to the penalty, we'll go on to that offside, we'll go on to the way that we lost the goals. Let us know. I want to try and bring in as much in where possible tonight. Well, Paddy, for me personally, I'm with you. I was sitting watching it with my sidekick, Jimmy, here in the hospital, up in the laptop, and there was a lot of fist pumping, a lot of cheering, and we thought we had cracked it. I think we made a few folk jump out their skin in here, and then we went back and we couldn't really think what on earth was happening there. That would have been the perfect start. I think you want to talk about coming out the box quick. I think we did, and I think we caught Bayern Munich cold. I don't think they expected that level of energy, but it was the fluidity of the passing for the back end of the corner. We swept into midfield. Your favourite player at the moment plays a fantastic ball across pitch into Mr. Kuhn, who does what he does, and it's a great shot. However, when I look at it, and I've debated it back forward, where I'm at with it is it's rightly and unfortunately rightly ruled out for me. The reason I'm saying that is Hart on commentary focuses on he's impeding the goalkeeper. Now, I think that's complete folly. I think Manuel Neuer knows the trajectory of the ball and he can roughly dive. I actually think he's impeding the defender. Now, in the normal run of things, if he's standing centre goal in an offside position and the defender's nowhere near him, then you can maybe argue that he's not interfering with the play. But the defender is so close to him that he's standing in front of him. So he's actually stopping the defender from getting involved in the play, getting in front of him essentially, and getting a foot on it or whatever. It also, with both of them being so close to him, it does offside Neuer to that extent. So as much as I hate to say it, I think it's rightfully given as offside. And it's a wee bit frustrating because I think it's one of the ones where everything just happens so fast. And in the normal run of things, I'd say he does exactly what you want him to be. He's inside the box in the right area. But at the same time, unfortunately, with the speed of play and with things happening, he maybe just can't believe that we're in there and he's just too eager. He's too in front of the play at that point. I mean, one of the ones, Put it this way. Are you cynical and going to say that if it was against us at the other end, it was getting given?
Nah, I'm not going to be that petty. I don't think it'd have been given. I don't think Adam Ida's made a attempt to play the ball, and that's where I'm kind of stuck with it because he doesn't seem to throw his leg towards it. He doesn't try to direct it. For me, he's just opening his legs and letting the ball go through. He knows he's in an offside position, I think, so he's kind of just letting the ball go through. So as far as I'm concerned with it, if you're not affecting the gameplay, you're not essentially going for the ball, then
yeah.
And what a start that would have been, that would have put them right under the cosh.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great start, and that's the thing. And we'll get on the performances, some of the play. I think for me, all over, let's just get it straight out. In terms of the game, where are you at with it? For me, I'm seeing a lot of mixed opinions. I'm seeing a lot of people moaning about it and saying, oh, disappointed, poor, wanting to individually pick out players for bad performances. Yes, we'll talk about some players. I don't think there was anybody that was particularly really stinking the place out. I think there's guys that could have done better. I think there was guys that were fading. But in terms of the overall performance, I think we gave a genuine, very good account of ourselves. Not a wee pat in the back, you done well for 15 minutes in a game type of patronising, you gave a good account of yourself situation. I think that we definitely did give a good account of ourselves. And again, it does come down to, and I hate this, I hate the phrase, it comes down to really, really small margins. I felt as the game grew on, you saw the energy levels of Celtic just weren't there. And in particularly looking at Ida, who we're talking about there, that early front end press, he just couldn't do it the same way that maybe Kyogo would have been able to do it. Things like that. And then those wee minor moments, the situation where we lose the goals. Those are the fine tuning moments where you say we are get the bones of a really, really strong team, and we maybe another 2, maybe 3 good quality players, and elsewhere those mistakes don't happen. But I think playing against a team like Bayern Munich with the quality of wash all over the pitch, I'm personally in the camp of a very good performance. Definite progress, as it's saying in the comments there. We've shown progress this season. It's just unfortunate that we got the draw. Where, as I said, it was like, do you want stabbed or do you want shot? Had that been a game against the likes of, say, Monaco, against Bruges or something, fully different story. But the cards of fortune fell in Celtic's favour for the draw. But when it came to the crunch period, we got the Celtic draw.
Yeah, listen, that's it. And at the end of the day, we're playing against Bayern Munich. They're sitting top of the Bundesliga. We've already played 2 teams in the Bundesliga. One of them we beat, and the other one gave us an absolute fucking demolition, let's be honest. So, for me, to come away from that game with a 2-1 defeat is a positive result. We were positive at a lot of points. You spoke about Ida there. I thought Ida had a good game. I thought bringing the ball in, I thought he controlled it well. I thought he held the play up a lot. The ball seemed to come into him quite a lot because when Pamecano was right up his arse all the time, every time he got the ball, he was on him and he was able to hold him off, and then he was looking for either Kuhn or Maeda running off him. So there was a lot of positives there coming from Adam Ida. You spoke about other players. Steve, listen, I'm not going to throw MD under the bus, but I thought the middle of the park we lacked a lot. I thought we were overpowered in there. I thought the passing was extremely poor. I thought that's where we basically lost it. Like you said, a few defensive frailties in there, a few mistakes that we made, and that's what cost the goals. But for me, it was the middle of the park that lost that game for us. If we had stronger people in the middle of the park and who made the passes at the right time and who were willing to fight for the ball at some of the stages, then I think it would have been a different result.
Well, I think as the game panned out, we looked through. Obviously, we get the early, we get ourselves out of the box. I felt that you heard the noise, obviously, and even with the goal getting cut off, it was rapturous. Definitely, I do think that for an actual early stage of that game, we had shook Bayern. Now, they had a very, very vocal and great support in that away corner, but I think even them were blown away with the quick start, the pace, the energy, and undoubtedly the noise. And of course, getting a shot across the bow, goes in the net, all right, it's cut off, but even they wouldn't have had on their bingo card, conceding, whether counting or not, within the first at least 20-25 minutes, it would not have been their bingo card. So for that to have started, I think that would have been, it definitely appeared to shake them. I think one thing that they did do is they approached the game fairly cautious. We spoke, me and Paul, the way that they play, as we say, they're not a team with mass amounts of width. We knew that they weren't going to cross, and it was always going to be very central. It was going to be intricate passes, and they were going to try and come very central. We've seen that even when the goals came in, it was maybe getting fired down to a guy out in a wing, but it always reverted to coming inside and working it for the inside to get their shots off. But I thought we settled into the game quite well. As you say, yep, when you look at it now after the event, the stats are wild because some people are saying, I don't know how that's possible, but when you look at it, the stats say it was as even as an even game can be.
Yeah.
It was literally draw a line in the sand, 50-50. But there was bouts where we were riding the lightning and they were really in the ascendancy, and then there was points where we were getting into it. We came alive at the start. We kind of game managed around the middle, even though having lost the goals. And then I think we really had a second burst. So it was almost a game of thirds rather than two halves for Celtic. There was a good bit, there was a middle bit, and then there was the end bit.
Aye, that's it. And the middle bit was where we lacked. Started off quite positively, started off well. You're up against guys, like somebody had said in the comments here, you're playing against 40 and 50 million pound players. Olise was outstanding. And he's, like you said, he's cutting inside and he's giving the ball to Eric Goretzka or Joshua Kimmich. Everything came through Kimmich. He was the man in the middle of the park. He was their Callum McGregor. And the guy's just classic. He played with slippers on, couldn't he? He was just in there, just nonchalantly moving the ball about left, right, and centre. I think his passing accuracy last night must have been 100%. And he spoke about stats as well. 7 corners for Munich, 7 corners for Celtic. Apparently 17 throw-ins for Munich, 17 throw-ins for Celtic. Things like that. Yeah, it's all evenly matched. Percentage-wise, I think the possession was something like 54-46. That's not the game I watched. If you look at that first half an hour, Steve, we were on the back foot pretty much constantly. They had the ball and they were just pinging it about and passing it about and making us chase it. Celtic chased shadows for most of that game. So I thought the possession stats would have been a hell of a lot higher. When we got the ball, yes, we played the way Brendan likes us to play and we kept possession and we passed the ball about, had some great passages of play. but we weren't clinical in the final third. We weren't clinical at giving the ball at that opportune moment. Once we kind of got into their half, then they seemed to up a gear and come towards us and start to push for the ball. But they were quite happy for us to play the ball about in our own half.
I think when we compare and contrast, when we look back to the other team we could have played, when we look against when we played Real Madrid, that was a point where there was a joke of we competed in periods for it. No, we didn't. We hit the post and we had a wee flurry, right?
Yeah.
But yes, they controlled the game, but it was very reminiscent in terms of the Real Madrid game. In terms, it was just sheer quality. They were passing it about at will. They never looked truly flustered. So I do think that there were wee bouts where, as I say, near the end when we were in the ascendancy and the start sort of 10 minutes, they looked unsettled. But once they got themselves into the game, they looked sort of composed. They were moving it about, very similar to the way that we were against Real Madrid. However, the one thing that made it different, that to me it showed that we were competing, is discipline. We maintained their shape. They had loads of the ball. They were moving it about. However, we were keeping our shape. We were keeping our discipline. We clearly learned. That's the most important thing here. We have developed in the Champions League. We qualified to the next phase. We've still got a chance. Might be slim, but we still have a chance to get through. We still can do it. That's the facts. As it stands at this moment in time, nothing's done. Nothing's set in stone. But we were able to game manage. Yes, we might have been chasing, but we weren't dragging ourselves massively out of position, leaving gaping holes. It was disciplined. It was press, okay, can't get the ball moves to somebody else. Press, okay, can't get it. So I liked that. I liked the fact that we were able to keep our shape and give a good account of ourselves. And yeah, to get in, I think the first time we see it, obviously, the first save that Kasper makes. Again, Kasper Schmeichel, fantastic. Another proof that what a signing he's been. Counted at least 3-4 top quality saves. The first one comes from the Harry Kane header. You think it's centre of the goal. It eventually he's offside, but it's in the moment. He doesn't know he's offside.
Yeah.
The ball sprayed out to Elise, plays it into the back post. Centre, exactly where Harry Kane wants to be. Centre of the box and heads it. And it's a fantastic save. I think that's the first time that we get done a wee bit.
Yeah.
We get done a wee bit. In fact, no, sorry, I wasn't on track of my time. That was prior to that, it's when Trusty gets done. He gets done. It comes over the top. I say he gets done. People are saying he risks giving away the penalty. I just think he overcommits. Those slinky legs, at least he gets them done. And it's a good save. It's a save for Kasper. But then, as I say, straight after it, give or take 10, 15 minutes, we get the exact same situation and we get that header from Kasper Schmeichel. So they did start to find their way into the game. But I never really felt that they were breathing down our neck. The goal, to me, didn't feel inevitable.
Yeah.
Did you get that feeling, or were you sweating bullets?
We were absorbing a lot of pressure, which we're not used to doing. We're used to seeing Celtic with the lion's share of possession, playing the ball about and keeping the ball and doing this to other teams, pressurising other teams. And I felt that we were the team getting battered. We were the team that we were on the back foot. We were chasing the shadows. And I don't think I felt like they were always going to score, but there was always the threat. Obviously, you get guys like Harry Kane, probably one of the best strikers in the world, whether you like to admit it or not. We say, what a talent he is. He was just unreal. He just ripped Greg Taylor a new hoop. Every time he got the ball, you knew there was going to be something done. He was phenomenal for me. What he asked who man of the match was, I would probably say Elise, although you give it to a Celtic player because it's Celtic Park, so therefore it goes to Yang. But onwards for that, mate. Listen, I thought we absorbed it well, we defended well. I thought we looked like we had a good shape. He spoke about the discipline. Both teams showed great discipline. There wasn't a booking in that game. And that's a cutting buster for a lot of people.
It was a cutting buster for me because I had my head at scoring and get carded. There you go.
Got it for you, mate. Yeah, and that shows the discipline. Obviously, in previous games we've had bookings and you're going into the next game and you're worrying about maybe missing out, and and things like that, and that affects your game. So to show that type of discipline for me against a top quality opposition like Bayern Munich, I mean, you just need to look at the squad. The squad is ridiculous. I mean, you commented on the keepers there as well. 2 38-year-old goalkeepers. Manuel Neuer has been at the top of the game for so long. Do you know what I mean? This guy's won the Golden Glove more times than you could even think. He's one of the best goalkeepers around. And I thought Kasper was outstanding as well. I thought he played well with the ball at his feet. I thought he looked comfortable. And like you said, that's safe for Harry Kane. That's a goal 9 times out of 10 for somebody like Harry Kane. And he was gutted when he hit it, and then obviously it did prove to be offside. But Kasper doesn't know that at the time.
Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, we do eventually lose the goal, as I always say. It's one of the ones. It's one of the few times where Bayern really spotted a true gap. Maybe I think it's Taylor again. Well, I think I'm not going to sit here and sometimes we know it can be the Taylor criticism train and all that kind of stuff, no matter who you're watching, what channel or social media. I genuinely thought that, yes, and I can say it for a couple of players, you see that you don't have the level that you totally desire from these guys, but I still felt that he coped being the word relatively well. It's a big deep pass in behind him into Elise. Yeah. I'll say Taylor gets done because he just gets turned quite easy. He's looking the wrong way. But the shot is an absolute topper. I mean, I don't think you can have too much arguments about that. And to go down, a wee bit of a gut buster I felt at that point, because it's right before half time. As I says, I didn't ever feel that the goal was incoming. I never felt that it was inevitable. I felt that it would have came as we tired, and I anticipated that to be deep into the game. So I thought, we're getting to half time here. That's exactly where we want to be. It's a total gut buster. It's a great finish. I don't think defensively you can really hang out to dry Taylor for that. Yeah, you can always argue that if you have someone that's maybe a bit more athletic, he maybe doesn't get turned as easy or the likes of that. We'll go on to like Sloop. I thought when Sloop came on, very much, he looked rough when he first came on, but as the game progressed, I thought he settled and he showed that physicality. And there was times like the situation with Taylor where he was put under pressure and he dealt with it more, he dealt with it more comfortably. So there is that argument of an increase in quality. These things might not happen, but that's what happens at the end of the day.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, I thought Greg Taylor had a good game. I really thought he did. He made a mistake, basically. He underestimated Elise, I think. He's tried to control the ball, where in my opinion, he should have just booted it straight out of the park. So, for me, you can't really blame him. When Elise gets the ball past him, it's a worldie. You can put 2 goalkeepers in there, 3 goalkeepers in there, they're not stopping that. It was an absolute thunderbolt. It was straight into the top corner. There's no keeper in the world saving that. And like you said, it's at that time of the game where you're thinking, we get in here with a draw. This is great. This is a cracking result. We're quite happy here. So yeah, it was a bit of a sting going in at half time at 1-0 down. But you fully expected to come back out, and the crowd would still get back behind us and would push us on for.
Well, I've got this. This is interesting. I always like to bring this in. We're inclusive even to Wallopers as well. So look at this one. I don't know what team Kirk Thompson supports, but apparently his brother says you are, don't know if that's me or you, Paddy, or both of us, talking shite. Firstly, it's interesting that he has to get Kirk's brother has to get Kirk to come and say this for him. So, big tough guy there. Hiring like a wee crybaby. Don't know what that means. If you're going to say something, say it right. Go get a job and support an inclusive team. We both do. And I believe Celtic are a club open to all. So there you go. And you are a walloper. Well, loved it. Great input, rich and compelling, but clearly you're just one for the bin, mate. See you later. Thanks for watching. Anyway, back to business, away from absolute gutter people here. let's get back to what we were talking about here, Paddy. But we're inclusive. We even bring in the loser comments. So there you go. Do you know what I mean? But nah, it's one of the ones. We lose the goal. 1-0, half time. It is what it is. We come out and we're there. But I want to bring this in just real quick because Snitch brings this up and he says, keep hearing the word about progress. We got beat. Yeah, that is fact. Is it progress? We can't have it both ways. Where are you on that bit? Where are you at that bit of the coin? Because I agree, it is something that keeps getting said there. I think the reality is, and I've been on here and I've criticised and says, I'm fed up of hearing but seasons ago we would have lost. Seasons ago we would have this right. So I hate that, and I'm kind of going to ironically come back and use that. But I think the reality is the progress is, firstly, look at the home record. Up until that game, we hadn't lost. We hadn't lost at home. Whereas when you looked at other European campaigns, we had lost games at home as well as losing games away. So in terms of over the piece, our record of wins to draws to losses and ultimately points, qualification, prize money, not just taking part, that in itself is progress. I then look at the game against Bayern Munich last night, which, I hate to say it, and seasons gone by, we would have got absolutely tanked. So progress is measured in many metrics. First and foremost, it's always going to be winning every game, progressing, getting beyond to the next stage and the next stage. But the reality is, Celtic at this moment in time are very much in for me at least, a transitional period, particularly when it comes to European football. This is the first time where I felt like we've really got our feet on the ground and tried to find a formula that we can truly build on to make further progress. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's progress for me. You just need to look at the start of this campaign when we played Dortmund. Dortmund are a team who aren't even top of the Bundesliga, and they absolutely annihilated us, left us without a name. And then you're going in against Bayern Munich, who are veterans in this competition, who've won it so many times. So, listen, to only get beat 2-1, I know it was at Celtic Park and it's a different kettle of fish, and we expect to beat anybody at Celtic Park. Listen, mate, I am forever the optimist. You know that.
You are that guy, yep.
Going into this game, come on, mate. I mean, you're up against Bayern Munich. You're up against a team here that are one of the best in the world. Now, Celtic, as much as we love them, we're not of that standard. Yes, we can beat them in a one-off night. Yes, we can beat them in a one-off game. But the performance last night for me was good. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm basing it on a performance. So I thought we performed well. I thought we've made progress in the Champions League because, yes, previous seasons we've been absolute dog shit because we've just been battered. So for me, going into it and getting a decent performance, maybe not the result that we hoped for, but a decent performance out of Celtic in that stage is, for me, a positive. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Progress, as has been saying there, it's going to be slow and steady. I think one thing I get criticised of and was guilty of is when we looked through this campaign where if I was to say to you blindly before any ball was kicked in the Champions League and you were looking for progress, and progress was just to qualify, let's be honest, progress over the years would have been getting the next round.
Yeah.
Real progress beyond that's win a knockout. Not drop into third and win a knockout in the Europa League. Actually, firstly, qualify through to the next round in the Champions League. That's stage one. Building on that would be do that again and then win that knockout and so on and so forth. I genuinely think if we were in the Europa League, I reckon we could go far deeper in that. Of course, that's one of the ones, isn't it? Because you got all the financial riches and you're really, truly, you'd like to hope that the club are going to push the envelope a wee bit to be a wee bit more competitive in terms of the quality, whereas I don't think they would do that in the Europa League. Whereas, ironically, if we were in the Europa League and they pushed the envelope, I think that would really give you a chance to do it. But let's just focus on Champions League. That's where we want to be. But yeah, so I think that's where the progress comes in terms of that. I think we've seen something tangible. We've got the building blocks, and that's it. We just need to make sure that we got on it. But back to the game, half time, no changes. I'm not surprised. As I said, I felt that 1-0 was a gut shot. It was a real gut shot to get down.
Yeah.
But 1-0, still plenty in it. And then, unfortunately, in classic Celtic in Europe fashion, we get done. Now, I want to talk about this goal. 48 minutes, Harry Kane, the guy who we all know was going to be, if anybody was going to score, he was the guy to be doing it. Now, I've wrote a couple of wee notes here because I actually can't get my head around it. And let us know what you think. You know, how let me know what you guys in the comments think. Who's at fault? What's at fault? What's the issues here? Because I couldn't work it out. I watched it 3-4 times. Celtic's marking here. Are we zonal? Are we trying man-to-man? And the reason I say that is when the ball comes in at the back, firstly, call me old school, call me boring. I'm very much a big fan of having a guy on each post, right? The ball comes in and you have Greg Taylor. He is at the near post, which technically should be Alistair Johnson's post. He's standing at that, chasing a man towards the front post. You've then got Trusty coming from the centre, chasing somebody in the middle, and then you've got Alistair Johnson, who is chasing and trying to header backwards to a guy who's at the back post, the left post, where probably Greg Taylor should be, and then behind him is a free Harry Kane to just knock it in. It was bizarre. It was completely bizarre. For me, great performance all round in terms of discipline. That there is just defending 101, and I cannot. That one for me is unforgivable. For Harry Kane to be left completely unmarked at the back post, and to have your guy who should theoretically be at that post running over to the opposite end, and the guy who should be at the opposite end running over to the opposite end and desperately try to header, makes no sense.
Yeah.
Help me here, Paddy. Help me, mate. Help me.
It's just the movement of the Bayern Munich players off the ball. I think we've been man marking. I think that's basically what's been happening in there. They've been told to watch certain players. But listen, if you leave somebody like Harry Kane unmarked in the box, he's going to score. It's as simple as that. He's one of the prolific strikers. The guy might not have won a major trophy or anything like that, but listen,
he can win this year.
He'll get one this year, definitely he will. But he knows where the back of the net is, and he's one of the guys. Listen, if it falls to him in that area, you know it's going to be a goal. It's poor defending for Celtic. It's poor judgment. I thought maybe Casper could have came for it as well. It didn't seem to be overcrowded in there, but listen, it's like you say, it's defending 101. It's schoolboy stuff. For me, conceding from set pieces like that is kind of you need to get that game completely.
Yeah, no, definitely. 2-0 at that point. Did you think that Bayern were going to kick on? Did you see the game pan out the way it eventually did? Did you feel that was going to be the body blow at that point?
I thought they were going to pull the body bags out, mate. I thought Celtic were going to collapse at that point because it just looked like the heads were down. It just looked a bit, I don't know, the crowd even felt it as well. I think because you come out at half time and you've got that big, right, come on, get into them, let's pull it back, let's do this, and then bang, and you're just like, right, fucking here we go, what's going on now? And I thought, I'm sitting there, I said before, I was sitting watching it with Willie, and we're both just sitting like, where is this going to come from? And Willie says, you know what, it's maybe time to get the changes done, it's maybe time we start to see some of the other boys on. So, yeah, we were kind of looking forward to the 60th minute mark to see if a bit of change
the changes come around, and of course,
would spark us into life a little bit. And do you know what? I thought it did.
Well, the thing is, but Paddy, let's not forget, before that, we get a good chance to get into it.
Yeah.
We do get a great chance. Now, hindsight's brilliant, and, that we can only imagine as armchair, footballers, if you want to call it that, or experts or whatever, or armchair idiots of what it must be like. But we get that great chance where it's fed in again. It's good bit of work with Engels. You don't like that, was into Hatate. He's dead centre of the box. He has acres. I feel he just snatches at it. Yeah. I feel that he's probably got a taste of just how close and how quick these Munich players are at closing you down. that he's anticipating somebody to come out his blind side and nip the ball off him. So he leans back and he sweeps it over. It is, up to that point, the best clear sight in a goal that Celtic have. Disappointing. I think he also had a chance as well where he gets one quite early in the game, similarly, and he probably maybe should take a wee touch and hit it low, but he just sort of sweeps it early towards the goalkeeper. But he gets that one where he just sort of blasts at it, and really, he doesn't do much for it. For me, it's an opportunity. It's nitpicking here, but it's disappointing.
I've spoken about it before, when going for playing in the SPFL to playing in the Champions League. Guys like Hatate in the SPFL, he's got all the time in the world. And you see him do that little turn in the middle of the park and he'll nonchalantly run away from players and pass the ball here, there and everywhere. And it's nice to watch. In the Champions League, he doesn't get that time. You're getting a second, if that, on the ball. And you spoke about the Real Madrid game before as well. We had that in that game. Even with Callum McGregor, every time Callum got the ball, there was somebody on his arse. And it was having that knowledge and that experience to play a bit faster then and to get the ball away. And I think, like you said, Hatate has realised that coming into this game. Maybe even because it's halfway through and it's at a later stage in the game, he's expecting somebody like Upamecano or Kimmich or somebody to be there to basically come through him. And he snatched at it, and do you know what? Yeah, and that's the difference. When you get chances at this stage, you've got to be clinical. You've got to put the ball away, and there was a few wee chances like that. But I felt like at that point the change was needed, and Hatate played a really high line. He did the pressing forward role there that Martin's talking about. I was saying that to Willie. Engels seemed to sit back a little bit. He was sitting back. Callum seemed to be the old number 6. He sat in quite a bit. Engels kind of played just off to the right, and it was a kind of a strange shape in the middle of the park. But Hatate seemed to be the one that was always pressing and always pushing forward, and that was good to see. It was almost as if we had a second striker in there at some points because he was so high up the park. But on the other hand, you look at that, and that's you essentially losing a midfielder when he's up there. He's in there, so that's probably how. My point at the beginning starts to come in then, because the middle of the park I thought we lacked severely. I thought that was our poorest performance with the middle of the park, but then I thought Hatate played well by pushing up. So it was a few things to kind of clip onto there. So yeah, it was a tough one for me. You getting off for drugs there, Steve-O? Oh, Steve-O's away. Here he is, he's back. What's happening?
No, we're back. They were just checking on me to see if I need any of my stuff. I've had my nighttime delivery that I need to take before my bedtime. I know, so I've got that. But no, listen, let's get back to what we're here for, which is obviously the football. Yeah, the chances there. We do make the subs eventually, but just before that point, there's the big VAR call, the big one of the day. Another one that I want to see your opinion on. Seen a lot of people who are shouting out, they're going crazy, they're saying that if that's up the other end, if that's one of the big teams, they get that. Again, I'll be honest with it, at the time I thought, yep, it's a penalty. When I see it, it's not a penalty, not for me, because and I'll tell you why. And I know I've seen this idea about, I know that we've spoken on the podcast enough times about this idea of, if you block someone from making a motion or something like that, and you make contact with the man, so that can be. So whilst we're on here, let us know what your thoughts on it in terms of penalty is. As I say, it's for me, if Engels touches the ball, if he touches the ball in any way, shape or form, it is a penalty. But he doesn't. The defender gets there first, he sweeps his leg out, he gets the ball away. At that point, as he's moving the ball away, I think in a desperate attempt, Engels is sticking the leg, he's poking through, trying to get that. And the reality is, the defender's foot has to go somewhere when it comes down after that motion, and he stands on top of Engels' foot. So for me, it's not a penalty. Are you in the camp with that, Paddy? I mean, he gets called over it and they pour over it. So that read that as well. Maybe the VAR assistant referees thought that it should be a penalty, and that's why he gets called over. But it's clear and obvious in terms that he's missed something because he's not seen it. But I don't think it's a penalty.
For me, I think that Upamecano stops him from getting to the ball, and that for me is where that's the decision should come in. Yes, he touches the ball, and it showed you that for the angle. I think it's just from the kind of.
But to jump in, what do you mean he stops him getting the ball? That's his job as a defender to stop him
It's his
getting the
job
ball.
as a defender, but he stops him by fucking standing on him. Do you know what I mean?
He doesn't stop him by standing on him because he's shoulder to shoulder with Engels. Vecano's foot comes across, swipes the ball away as Engels pokes us out, and his foot has to come down, go somewhere and stands on top of it. So in my opinion, he doesn't stop him doing anything. It's a shoulder to shoulder. He kicks the ball first. As the ball's left his foot, Engels pokes out, think he's going to get the ball, and his foot comes down top of it. If Engels touches the ball, or Engels has the ball and then loses it, and then that happens, it's probably a penalty, but he doesn't.
I know, and I understand where you're coming from with it, and I understand why the referee's made his decision. But for me, looking at it, maybe it's the green tinted glasses. Engels has put his foot in there. He's on a trajectory towards getting the ball, and Upamecano's foot comes down on top of his and stops him getting there. Yes, he touches the ball, but he makes clear contact with the player. So for me, by making that clear contact, yes, I understand his foot's got to go somewhere, but he's came down.
Well, I think with Wilson's saying there, the notion of Engels would have got the ball if he wasn't fouled. So that's probably answers the question as to why he's been called over and they've then had to make the judgment call on it.
Yeah.
As I say, I think we're going to be spot on it. I'd love to have, we're taking it all day long. And as much as I don't have to agree with Willie Coleman and stuff, I think this comes back to one of those situations with remember the recent VAR review where they had the penalty situations. I think it was like the Hadji one, for example. Similar in nature to what's been on here, where they've essentially says it truly is subjective. It's a flip of a coin, and whatever the decision the referee makes, one way or another, we'll support it. If he says penalty, we support it. If he says no, we support it, because it's really a case of what you're reading as the individual. And I hate that, because I like the black and white. I don't like the grey areas that VAR's supposed to eliminate, but clearly I think in that circumstance it probably is one.
Yeah. Listen, that's it. At the end of the day, VAR's supposed to be there, and it's supposed to eliminate all of this. And for me, it doesn't. It just causes a bit of extra tension in there. This is one of the ones where I thought at the time the ref should have just. I thought he's pointed to spot as penalty. That's it. But for him, he's kind of waved it off initially, and then been called to VAR. So by him being called across, normally you see him running in the monitor. That's because they've had a look at it and they've thought, well, mate, you might want to change your mind here. And by
so here's one that I want to bring in. I wouldn't normally do this because we don't pretend to be ITK and all that garbage, but this is a very clear point here where Ryan T says VAR sends him over to change his view and he doesn't do it. Now, if you remember the last time Celtic were refused a penalty in the Champions League at Celtic Park, you remember this, okay? I spoke to a very reliable person at Celtic Park who has been speaking with officials who, you might say foreign referees, but no, believe it or not, they can speak perfectly good English. And the general conversation that was had with the referee not awarding a penalty in that case was that he essentially alluded to the fact that he was put on the spot, felt on the spot, and essentially had a million and one thoughts going through his head, primary of which being, if I give this decision and go the opposite way, I am binned for a couple of games here. Now, this is from a European ref speaking to, I have no reason as to why someone would make this up. If you want to say, what a shite, Stevie, take it, you find it. But this was filtered through to me quite recently when we were discussing VAR. And this European ref basically says, under severe pressure, I felt that if I were to award that penalty, that it would be detrimental to my placement in future matches in the competition going forward. So I think that there is quite possibly a wee bit of that, unfortunately, still in play. Because as we say, these guys will be professional refs, but these guys will also be on a right good wedge. And I do believe, as we've seen in football, football's a very political matter here, and there still will be politics at play, and there'll be fear of politics at play, and there'll be fear of repercussions. And I wouldn't be surprised, potentially, based on that, that's what we've seen that night there.
Yeah, quite possibly. And listen, you spoke about mistakes. You just need to go back to the cup final against the Baddies when Cherny gets fouled on the edge of the box and the two VAR guys get banned for a couple of games or get sent to Division 3 or whatever happened to them. They never get sacked, but they'll get sacked if you listen to all the Ibrox forums and stuff like that. Apparently the guys get hung, drawn and quartered and the remains have been scattered in Ibrox. But no, listen, the be-all and end-all of that is, these guys have got a job to do. And for me, it's a big pressure decision. And I think the refs took the easy way out. I think for me, he's went with he's touched the ball, that's it. I can justify it with that. The contact for me is enough to award a penalty. And you've seen it so many times. We've had penalties given against us. We've been given penalties for a hell of a lot less than what that was. So for me, especially at a level of that, at the latter stages of the Champions League, when you're 2-0 down at home to one of the best teams in the world, I thought for me there was enough justification in that to award the penalty. But we can't.
Yeah. Let's move on, because you mentioned, Paddy, we'll wrap up, we'll power through. Let us know your final thoughts. Keep them in between now and we finish up. The substitutions were made. I thought at that point we needed something. We needed a wee bit of extra impetus. We get Yang, and we'll get on it. It's a game changer. We get Schlupp that comes on as well. A couple of changes are made in and around there. What did you feel that the changes are? The first ones I said I alluded to earlier. I felt that with Schlupp, it's early days to judge. Some people are giving a hard time. I felt that he made a couple of really bad early mistakes, losing possession. He looked very shaky. Maybe about a 5-minute period where he looked rough as a bag of nails, to put it lightly. But I felt he settled and he grew into it. And see all the things that we've been looking for: athleticism, that sort of wily bit of experience, where once he found his feet in the game, once he sussed it out, he got the tempo of the game, was able to suss out the players around him, kind of like a boxer feeling out in those early rounds. Yeah. He quickly settled, and I felt you saw a real impact there. We get Kuhn comes off. For me, I thought Kuhn, unfortunately, again, I wouldn't say the bad game, but we spoke, me and Paul, about how this is a game where we'd love to see that bar RB Leipzig, he's never really carried on the amazing form of his domestic into Champions League. He's not really truly made that step up. I think if he scores that goal and it counts, maybe say a different conversation here. I felt he was one that really faded very, very easily in the game. And similar with, obviously, we move Maeda. Ida has to come off. I felt the big man ran about, doesn't really get himself too much opportunities, and I still don't think, maybe it's to do with his size and all that, but he doesn't have the engine on him to do that press. So that's why it was imperative that we got a striker in to replace him, because the man was dead in his feet. But the subs come on, you happy with them? And did you notice an increase in what we were doing? Jota on as well, of course.
Yeah, listen, it was great to see them coming on. Jota, for me, obviously going onto the wing and bringing Dyson in through the middle. The press for Dyson was just frightening. Manuel Neuer shat his pants about 4 or 5 times with Dyson.
I said the first time the one he gets round him is just too acute. Face of the box.
Unreal, mate. Honestly, Dyson was just... Manuel Neuer must have felt like Tavernier, mate. Honestly, he was constantly breathing down the back of his neck. He was on him every time the ball got passed back to him. And that's what you needed. It's something that Ida isn't going to give you. You touched on Adam. Adam Ida, I thought, had a great game. He held the ball up. He done well when he was on it. He didn't lose possession a lot. Yes, he wasn't in the box and he wasn't banging in the shots that you want from your strikers, but he was holding the ball up and he was passing it away to to Maeda and Kuhn and Engels and Hatate, whoever was running off him, basically. So for me, that was good to see. But I thought when Dyson went through the middle, there was different. It was different. Yeah, it was that wee bit more high press. It was that bit more pressure. And I thought the Bayern Munich defenders get a bit of a shock there. And if you can shock them quick, then.
And see on that, see with next week, the return leg being pretty much an all or nothing. Well, quite simply, as it's a cup final. See what Ryan T is saying here, and I could be converted to this. I think that, yeah, I would roll that dice. I would play Dyson through the middle, and I would have Kuhn and Jota starting. Where if you have to revert to, as we call it, chaos ball, launch ball, whatever. If we need to just mix it up, and whether it's desperation or otherwise, I think you try and go with what clearly worked. And what clearly worked was when we made those changes around 65 minutes, when we had the directness of Jota, he came on, he looked sharp, he was trying to take on people. Yang, look, it's been said, the guy's an
anomaly, yeah.
You know, the guy's an absolute anomaly, because as it was says here, you know, he's his DVP saying he's a total and utter anomaly. Looks petrified in the league, and then he pops up and does that. Clearly, you know, I'm not suggesting we start Yang. Let's not go too far here. But what I mean is in a game like that, if we can get Kuhn starting and maintaining a level of his game, by that point there'll be more match fitness in the legs of Jota. Get the two of them on and fire Maeda through, because Maeda's got the engine to go 95, 105, 120 minutes. It doesn't matter. He can do it. I think we go with what worked. I think we need to have faster, sharper, more direct players across the front three, because 100%. We're not going to get. It was too easy for the Bayern defence against Ida.
Yeah, listen, Ryan T there says as well, that speed will terrify Upamecano and Dyer. Dyson Maeda is that quick that he served a 2-match ban in 1 week. That's how good he is, man. Honestly, the guy is brilliant. He's rapid, and honestly, only took him 1 game to do a 2-match ban. That's how good this boy is, right?
And he gets the header. He gets the goal, mate. He gets the goal.
He gets it, and do you know what? He's there. He's always in the right place. And that's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you expect for somebody like Dyson Maeda, because he's always on the move. He's always on the go. And going into this next game, honestly, going into the game against them, if he started with Jota, Kuhn and Dyson up front, I think we would cause him a hell of a lot more problems. And I think that would terrify them. I think their defence would be backs to the wall a little bit more.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a great option. Do I think it will happen? No, I don't. I think he'll go with a tried and tested striker up front. I don't think he'll go with Dyson as much as I would love it.
I think the thing is that we've got to look at it is, in terms of Maeda, he's now finds himself, he's scored more goals in the Champions League than some of the greats, more than Larsson, more than Sutton, more than Hartson. You know, he's in a very, very elite club there in terms of that. Yeah. And it's been all off the back of this fantastic vein of form that he's been in this season. What I would say is, there's nothing to lose. Now, I know that the manager's got his system, his ideal setup, but there's no disrespect in my eyes to turn around and say, we're going to try that. And why? Because see the very few scraps that we got when the ball drops in the box. Maeda will be quicker to react, more instinctive to react than Arida. And we've got to look at even that situation where the ball like the situation where you spoke about Neuer earlier, the ball sort of spills and he runs round and he's in behind him and he's getting that. Adamida's not doing that. He's not getting that. He's now going to get a touch on the ball and try to get bundled over and go for a penalty. So I think we've got to go for it. The ball comes, it's a great ball in. We've got to give some real praise here to Yang. He comes on. He's obviously, as we say, he's trying to impress. Maybe that's he's seen some extra thing and knows now that the level of competition's went up miles and miles and miles. But he came on, and this is again the frustrating thing. I think, if I'm being honest, is the Yang experiment over in my head? Yes, it is, but I'm going to give him his praise for what's there. But he looked like a completely different player. He looked like he was somebody else.
Yeah.
He was direct. He was energetic. He was taking on a man. I think actually for the goal as it comes, he kind of fresh airs it. I don't think he means to put it into the path of Maeda, but it doesn't matter. He's doing the right things, Paddy.
Exactly. He's in the right.
He should be happy with that.
Aye, listen, I was delighted. It was quite funny in the chat as well. Everybody like, oh my God, Yang's coming on, and then the comments started to change ever so slightly. It was like, oh wait a minute, he's staying a little bit here as well. Wilson saying, Yanginho, definitely, mate. Honestly, it was brilliant. That's the best 15 minutes I've probably seen for the guy. I thought he played really well. Wanted on the ball, wanted to take players on. And it's good. That's what you want for you want.
And he's involved in arguably the two best chances. Well, one's obviously a goal. The two best opportunities that we get outside the one into Hatate in that match, because you get the other one where he beats a couple of players, runs in, he slides it into Johnson. Probably the wrong guy to be there. He gives it a right good scalp. But again, he's doing the right things.
It's chances, mate. It's chances that on another night go into the back of the net. Alistair Johnson's hit that with a bit of venom. He's absolutely connected perfectly with the ball. He's hit it kind of pretty much straight at Neuer, let's be fair, but he's connected with it. He's put a fair whack on it. So for me, there was enough chances in the game for us to come out with an even better result than what we did. But at the end of the day, we're still in it. And going out to Munich and going to be, obviously, it'll be a different kettle of fish out there. I believe it'll be a different animal. I think that if we do go to that game and we start with Kun, Jota and Maeda up front, I think we could maybe cause a wee upset there. I really do. I think we could do something. I think that would be a bit of carnage for them.
And in summary, it's a good performance. It's as levels of progress. It's disappointing. I think it's still very fine lines, the difference between a draw or a loss. I didn't really truly feel over the piece of watching the game that we could have snatched a win. I felt at the end we could have snatched a draw. I don't think we could have snatched a win, but again, that's hindsight, because you never know if that first goal scores, it could just totally be a different script. But in terms of the goals cut off, starting from scratch, as that game progressed and Bayern were able to find their way into it on an even keel, I didn't feel like we were going to snatch a win from them. But you've got to start there. There's nothing to lose. The manager says it's about going out there and giving a good account for ourselves and going out there to try and win. Just to bring that up then, to close it off, what do we do different? Is there much that we need to do different here? Suggestions of the obvious one being is changing it about. I think we know that we speak about it. We say it about the midfielders. We say it about the midfielders and people not liking that or feeling it was a bit disjointed. I don't think any of them were particularly bad. Some people say the complete opposite. I felt, personally speaking, that we disagreed all about this. I thought Engels had some good passages of play, good passing, held the ball up quite well. I thought Maeda looked, I thought Hatate looked hungry, but I also felt that he was the one out of the three who lost the discipline the most out of them, in terms of whether it was his shape or, for example, the chance earlier on where he makes a slide tackle in the wrong direction and it pokes the ball through and they get the chance. We simple things like that. So I think if I'm changing anything in the midfield, I maybe say I'm maybe looking at, I wouldn't go with McCown. I think that's too crazy for me. I'm thinking maybe Bernardo comes in there. I do agree I would go with Maeda through the middle. I think we would just got to try it. Let's try it with Jota and Kun. And I would go, if he can get up to speed, if he can get a full 90 minutes at the weekend, I would go with Schlupp at left back. That's what I would do.
That's a good shout. You spoke about the middle of the park. I'll come in on it. I'll not be too bad. I thought Engels had an absolute snider. I called it out pretty much all night. For me, I don't know where I've got this hatred from. I feel like I'm judging the guy on his price tag and not on what he's doing for the club. He's got a couple of good passes in there. He does some good things, but for me, he's just not. He's not there yet, and I want to see better performances. Yes, I sing Rio Hatate's praises every single week, but for me, Rio Hatate didn't play as a midfielder. He was more of a second striker. He was sitting in a kind of advanced role, like a number 10 role most of the game. He seemed to be out of position a hell of a lot. He did give the ball away as well, and he went through that stage of the game where he looks lethargic and doesn't want to chase the ball, and just kind of as if he's gave in. And then all of a sudden, bang again, and he's back in the game, and he's getting the chances. And for me, I would start Hatate, I would start McGregor, and I would start Bernardo. I would obviously, that's a slip as the answer. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right. That'd be a good one.
To close off and finish off, to ask maybe an obvious question, because I've seen a lot of this. Is the lack of movement in January, is that ultimately, does it make any difference to last night to you? A lot of people are saying if you've got Kieran Tierney and Schlupp in there, that gives you far more flexibility. And certainly, as we've discussed, if you have maybe a proven striker in there, it gives you an extra option whereby you could have brought on that striker whilst keeping on Maeda. Is that an easy fallback to just say that we didn't do enough?
No, I think it's an easy fallback. If Kieran Tierney's there as well, you're probably still going to start Greg Taylor. Schlupp isn't really up to fitness. Kieran Tierney's played bit parts here and there for Arsenal. So the in-form player, the fit player, is essentially Greg Taylor. So that's who you're going to start. So I don't think that changes it. Adam Ida is our out-and-out striker at the minute. So regardless of who you put in there, Adam's going to start. He was always going to be the person who started that game. We take Adam off and move Dyson in the middle. Dyson gets the goal. So where you're lacking a striker, doesn't matter. You've got Dyson Maeda who's coming in and doing the damage. He's scoring the goal. So I think that's a scapegoat thing. I think that's a way of throwing the board under the bus. Yes, listen, there was a lack of.
We're not sitting here and defending the board. I think you've got to have eyes in the back of your head when it comes to them. We're not foolish. We're not foolish. They need to really prove their worth during the summer without a doubt. But I think in terms of this game, we'd been singing the praises. He pushed the ball out a wee bit and try and make a fist of these two games, because the reality is when you look at if we were to win this game, who we could potentially play, that in itself is far more favourable. So there's that, there is that, but I don't necessarily know how much changes in January would have made too much of a difference, because again, that's maybe playing down the efforts of the side. It's a good performance, despite the result. It's a good performance.
And that's it. At the end of the day, getting beat 2-1 off of Bayern Munich isn't a fucking terrible result. It's not a massively hideous score for us. Do you know what I mean? We can go out there and we can overturn this. If we have a cracking game out there and they don't play up to their usual standard, we could cause an upset here. Alan Stevenson says there as well about Taylor not being good enough for the Champions League. Listen, mate, we've said this many times. At some points, he's not been good enough for the SPFL, never mind the Champions League. But the guy makes mistakes here and there. But what he's done for this club, he's been an incredible servant. And he's there every single week. And what he's doing, he's not just playing that left-back position. He's coming into the middle of the park. He's creating more numbers in the middle of the park. And he's playing like more of an inverted role. So for me, it's not necessarily him to blame. You could blame Brendan for asking him to play this way. He gets caught out of position. He should probably just booted the ball away with the Elise thing, and that would never have counted. But listen, obviously we want more investment. Obviously we want more players in the door. We want more quality in the door. We want to see guys like Engels and Ida kick on. We want more. Of course we do. We're Celtic fans. It's not greed. We expect it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean,
I think for me to close down in full circle on this and come back to where we started, what is progress? So far, I would say what we've seen from the start of Champions League to last night is progress.
Yeah.
We're going over to Munich, of course. We could be on the end of hiding. A result, a win, absolute progress. A draw, fantastic progress. would a heavy defeat, now I'm not wanting it, not planning on it, but would a heavy defeat in any way, shape or form, would that dent this Champions League campaign for you? Would it diminish it somewhat? Because I feel that if we want to show real progress, we need to use what we've done in the performance last night as being the building blocks. And if you're going to even lose next week, to be as narrow as it was then, that shows real tangible progress. There's no point in doing it for half a game. Or, do you know what I mean? There's no point in doing it for half a game.
I think we've shown that already. Obviously, you look at the Dortmund game. Now, I hate going back to it, and I hate talking about it because it was absolutely demoralising and it was horrible to watch. But to go from beating Slovan Bratislava 5-1, beating Ross County 6-0, beating St Johnstone 6-0, and then going into a game against Borussia Dortmund and getting melted 7-1, to me, that it felt embarrassing. I was sitting watching it with all the English guys and a couple of baddies, and I was getting absolutely hounded, and I actually felt quite embarrassed about it. But then when we went into the next game we played against Atalanta, Brendan was in the press and he said, we're not going to change, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're going to play the way we play. But we didn't. We did change, we did adapt, and that was probably the best defensive performance I've seen for Celtic. I thought that game against Atalanta we were outstanding, and to get that nothing each draw away to Atalanta, I thought was probably one of the best results of this campaign. And I think we've learned from there, we've progressed, and we've kind of pushed on a little bit. So that's where I'm seeing the progress. The Aston Villa game for me was again just another one, couple of stupid mistakes in there that cost us that game as well. But to go out to Munich, if we can go out there and, like you say, get a result, even a draw. I don't want a draw. I want to beat them. I want to qualify here. But if we can go out there and put in a performance and not get melted, I think it's progress. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Paddy, for joining us. Thanks to all you for your contributions. As I say, I think there was a lot to unpack there, a lot to sort of address and discuss. What's ifs, what's, possibilities, and all that kind of hindsight brigade stuff. But over the piece, I think we should be pleased with the performance. I think we should definitely be looking at it and saying this season, this European campaign has been fruitful. There's been points. There's been some real high points. There's been some real shows of character that we otherwise previously would have lacked. Of course, there's points, and with that there is finances, and of course there's coefficient points and reputational repair, because outside that game against Bayern Munich, we hadn't lost at Celtic Park in Europe, and in terms of how at Celtic Park our record and up until that game was absolutely fantastic. So I think lots to be positive about. Never lose sight of that. We will push on and keep the heads up. We've got a game around the corner, get that one out of the way and start to dial in and focus. So thanks to that. Thanks for everybody joining us. And also I just want to say, Snitch, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just on a personal note, a lot of people have been messaging me and stuff, and I'm genuinely touched. Thank you very much. I do appreciate all that. As I say, I'm still in the hospital. I anticipate that I'll probably be here at least for another few days, at least maybe in the turn of the week. And as I say, today I'd made some big steps for those that are interested, literally, where I was able to walk, albeit a small distance, on some crutches and get myself about. And I've got a pre-assessment appointment to go to in Glasgow tomorrow, which is with a view of getting back surgery. So all positive there as well for me in a personal note. But genuinely, thanks to everybody that's bothered and taking the time. So, you know, I don't expect anything. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot that people are actually giving a shit about some guy that is sitting and listening to talk garbage at times about Celtic on the telly. So thank you very much for that. But most importantly, support Celtic World Order. Share it out there. Give it a subscribe.
I meant to say, Steve, did I leave my Polements in your bag with the juice?
You did leave your Polements in the bag with the juice.
Gutted, mate. I got home and
they're done, mate. They're done. They're gone. They're out of there. So thank you very much. But listen, thanks for everybody for joining us. Thanks for the support continually. As always, we'll see you at some point. When that's going to be, as we say, everything's a wee bit of flux at the moment, but we will do our best to get round to get more out there. Till the next time, as we always say, you take care of yourselves And Paddy,
Hail, guys.
hail. See you later. Bye-bye.